In the summer of 1967, in the hills of central South Korea, there was a 35-year-old man named Kim Chang-seon who worked at a place called the Gubong Mine, which at the time was the biggest gold mine in the country. But Kim's job wasn't digging for gold. Kim's job was water. Because you see, the deeper a mine goes, the more it floods, and Gubong Mine went very deep. Its tunnels ran more than 100 meters straight down into the mountain. So the mine ran pumps around the clock to keep the deep levels from drowning. And men like Kim went down in shifts to keep those pumps alive. Now, there are two things about Kim you need to know because both of them are about to matter very much. The first is that before he was a miner, Kim was a soldier. He had fought in the Korean War as a Marine, and his specialty was communications: radio, field telephones, and wire. During that war, he had once been cut off from his unit for over a week with almost nothing to eat. And he had survived it. The war had also taken one of his eyes. The second thing is that on August 22nd, 1967, Kim drew the midday shift at the 125-meter level. And he was down there completely alone because the rest of his crew was up top eating lunch. And so it's just after noon. Kim is at the bottom of the mine, tending to the pumps, when somewhere above him, the mountain moves. The tunnel roof comes down behind him. It misses Kim, but it buries the only way out. And when the dust finally settles, Kim is standing in absolute darkness, and where the tunnel used to be, there is just a wall of rock and earth meters thick. Let's pause for a second to understand what darkness means at the bottom of a mine, because it's not like night. At night, your eyes adjust. There are shapes, there is sky, but 125 meters underground, there is nothing for your eyes to adjust to. Kim could not see his own hands, and it's cold down there. The only sound is water dripping off the ceiling somewhere in the black. So Kim takes stock of what he has, and it's a short list. The clothes he's wearing, the water dripping down from the ceiling, and a tin lunchbox his wife packed for him that morning. And what Kim does next tells you exactly what kind of man he is. He's hungry, he has one meal, and he decides he will not eat it. Not today. He splits that one packed lunch into rations, eating a little at a time by touch, and he makes it last 2 full days. When it's finally empty, he sets the tin under the ceiling drip and drinks whatever the mountain gives him. And then he does the hardest thing of all, which is nothing. He lies down in the dark and stays as still as he can, hour after hour, spending as little of himself as possible. And he listens for the sound of digging. But the digging doesn't come. A day goes by, then 2 days, then 3 days. Because here's what Kim couldn't know. Up on the surface, the men of the Gubong mine were staring at the collapsed shaft with shovels and not much else. This was a small company in a country where in 1967, miners died all the time. There was no heavy rescue equipment, and depending on who you ask, the company either couldn't do more or wouldn't spend what it would take. They tried to sink a pipe toward him to pass him food through, and the pipe failed. And they tried again, and it failed again. 3 days in, they had gotten essentially nowhere. And in all that time, nobody had heard one sound from below. So as far as anyone was concerned, Kim Chang-seon was already dead. But down in the dark, Kim's hands had found something in the debris, the pump station's telephone. One of the field sets wired from level to level all the way up to the surface. It had been smashed apart in the collapse, and it was dead. Except, remember what Kim did in the war? This exact machine, wire and crank and receiver, was the thing his hands had been trained on half a lifetime ago. And so, in total darkness, one eye lost to the war, and the other useless down here anyway, Kim began fitting the pieces of the telephone back together totally by feel, from memory. On the 4th day, he cranked the handle, and up on the surface, a telephone rang. And when somebody picked it up, a voice came up out of the mountain that had swallowed a man whole 4 days earlier. And the voice said, "I am alive." The newspaper printed a special edition that same day, a miner buried alive and talking on the phone. Now you would think that that's the moment everything changes, right? It isn't. The pipes kept failing. Kim asked them down the phone line to send him porridge. The porridge never reached him. And day by day, the men at the other end of the line could hear him getting weaker. He asked them whether the grease near the pumps was safe to eat. He told them also that he had been sucking the sweat off his own skin for the salt. And at some point, Kim said words up that wire that the men wrote down because they sounded like a goodbye. I don't think I'll get the chance to greet the world again. So there is a living man on an open phone line, reachable, lucid, and starting to say farewell. And that is when a radio reporter from the city of Daejeon hauled a tape recorder out to the pit head and got it patched into the mine's phone line and asked Kim if there was anything he wanted to say. And Kim didn't talk about the rocks. He didn't talk about the rescue. He said his children's names, Jong-ae and Gyeongbok. And he told them, don't fight. Be good to each other. That recording went out over the air and South Korea stopped. Crowds formed around radios in the streets. Kim's name went onto every front page in the country every morning. People who had never heard of him collected donations. Churches and temples held prayers. The president's office sent a man to stand at the pit's head. The US Army sent a helicopter and power saws. And before it was over, some 2,000 people had been thrown at that mountain, drilling, timbering, pumping, in shifts around the clock. A buried miner had been an ordinary story in Korea for as long as anyone could remember. This one, the whole country had heard speak. On the evening of September 6th, the 16th day, the diggers broke through. It's 9:15 p.m. There are floodlights at the pit head and cameras including news crews from overseas. And the whole country is listening live. And out of the mountain comes Kim Chang-seon. He has been underground for 368 hours. He went down weighing 65 kg and he comes up weighing 46, awake and lucid, while the crowds around the shaft chant the same two words over and over, human victory. At that time, no human being on record had ever been buried alive that long and come back. And the first thing Kim said to the men who dug him out was, "You've all worked hard." Kim left the mines after that. He lived quietly and he died in January of 2022 at 90 years old. But there's one more thing about those 16 days, and it's the strangest one. The name the whole country cheered for, the name in every one of those headlines was Yang Chang-seon. And that wasn't his name. A clerk had botched his paperwork back in his army days, and the mistake followed him through the most famous stretch of his life. The most famous man in South Korea, famous under a name that wasn't his. It took him years to get it back.